25 years ago, we jumped full bore into the superhero universe that we have now when X-Men came out. And that's what we're deep diving. That's what we're looking at. Talk about X-Men. I'm the one that picked this one as we were getting, this is my first pick of the year. And as I was looking at the list of what I could pick, I just kept coming back to X-Men, and it's such a landmark movie in that I think this is, you had the Batman franchise of the 90s, right? With Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer. Then Joel Schumacher and George Clooney killed it and like killed superhero movies for a little while. And then X-Men resurrected it. And this, if it wasn't for X-Men in 2000, you wouldn't have had a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in 2002. And if you didn't have those, then you probably don't have an MCU. Like, this is what sparked this rise in the superhero movies. And it's the team up, right? It's the ultimate team up of the X-Men here. 25 years ago, it launched a career of Hugh Jackman. It launched the forever friends of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, who have like the best like on-screen, off-screen bromance of any two guys of the last 25 years. It's so much fun to watch them do stuff together. And you've got Halle Berry a year before her Oscar. You've got Anna Paquin the same year as Almost Famous. 7 years after she won an Oscar as a little kid. You've got Ray Park a year after he was Darth Maul. Rebecca Romijn Stamos at the time, which made her even more high profile. Famke Janssen off of being on a top of everyone in GoldenEye, launching careers of James Marsden. This is a loaded cast, and it's a great movie too. Like it's fun. It
has got 2.5 stars, Terry, on the website.
I don't know how that's the case. I gotta fix that. But it's a really great movie. It's fun. It's not very long. Like I watched it this afternoon. I was like, oh man, I gotta plan some time. It's only an hour 44, and it works. It doesn't need any more than that. It's a tight movie, and gives enough time to all these characters to make you really care about them all. And it's got something to say too. And that's one of the things I like about the X-Men movies as well, is that it uses this idea of mutants and superpowers to say something about like culture in general, which I think is pretty cool as well. So yeah, it's way higher than that. It's like, it should be like 3.5 star movie. And man, Hugh Jackman looks young in this movie. My word.
He's like 31,
32, something like that. If he knew when he made this movie that he'd be playing this character for the next 25 years, I don't know if he signs up for it. All right, Zach, this was the first time
more worth seeing than Quantumania was.
Yes, much more. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts were of the initial outing of the X-Men.
All right, X-Men. Definitely a movie I cared a lot about when I was 13 years old in the year 2000. I mean, I remember being like waiting in line for like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon that year. Chocolat, the Lasse Hallström movie. I was down with that shit. I have no recollection of X-Men even coming out. I mean, this is something that was not remotely in my universe. I mean, if you had told me it was another year, I would have believed you. I have no recollection of this movie coming out or making any sort of meaningful impact on my life. So I'm glad it made impacts on your lives. So, you know, what we're talking about here is like the gateway drug. Okay. It's like the marijuana that leads to the heroin and the cocaine that is the MCU and the DCU and all the ICUs and all the world. And it's just, it's the reason why we're here, right? Is that, you know, superhero movies got elevated as a result of Marvel and X-Men. I kind of long for the days of Blade and Batman and Robin and Darkman, Liam Neeson. You know, that shit was fun, you know? We don't need this actual, $300 million movie bullshit. Anyway, this was I guess it was an interesting movie. I had seen the sequels, curiously enough, and that's also not a good sign. If you can see the sequels to a movie and still understand it without having seen the original, probably not a great, that's sort of maybe a red flag a little bit.
I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Like, I hate movies where you have to have like where the continuity has to be that great. I don't know. I think that's good. that a movie can stand on its own.
My favorite comic movie is Crumb, the documentary. Okay, that's all you need to know about me and comic books. This movie has a lot of people in it. Probably the most fascinating aspect of the movie was figuring out, as you were kind of saying, Terry, where these people were in 1999. Anna Paquin coming off of an Oscar. Anyway, I loved Anna Paquin, and she's the best thing about this movie. It was also nice to see Halle Berry like before she was big. I mean, this is 1 year, but Terry's right. It's 1 year before her Oscar, and she has like a really kind of minor supporting role. Now, what's kind of interesting about that is I also remember it's not like Storm got much bigger after this movie. I mean, she was always kind of supporting. So you'd like to think you're not sure why.
No, she
Halle
became
Berry
like the main character.
No, she became like the
By
leader
the
of the
third one,
team.
she was a big thing.
I'll
And
trust your
Days of
guys.
Future Past. Yeah,
I'll
Days of
trust
Future
your guys.
Past
Well, there was no Storm movie though, was there?
No,
Why would
but
there be?
there was no spin-offs of X-Men other than Wolverine.
Yeah,
Okay.
they
Well,
were
no, I
thinking
mean,
they were
I'm just-
thinking about Magneto, but that's about it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'll trust your guys' judgment about a lot of shit here today. I guess I just have to say that
Finally,
this movie introduced the world to superhero movies, Marvel movies. What I think is also interesting about it, besides the actors who a lot of whom were not particularly known, and a lot of whom were from the whole Oceania area of the world, it was the fact that this movie feels incomplete. It is 100 minutes, mercifully, and 41 chapters on the Blu-ray. That's the best thing about the movie. There's no way that a movie would like this that is trying to pioneer a new franchise would ever be less than like 2.5 hours. Okay, it's reminiscent. It reminds you of the era when superhero movies were kind of taken for granted and were not taken very seriously by bodies like the Academy Awards. This is a movie that was meant to launch a series, but it wasn't necessarily an epic movie in scale. And what I really mean is that I guess it had a short running length. To me, the best, the path that I wish this movie could have had is I wish it was made by Warner Brothers, and I wish they have shelved it like, the Acme movie and like Batgirl, and it was maybe like a DVD extra feature or something. It doesn't feel like a real movie. Magneto's kind of the villain, but not really. It feels like it, and then there's like the Cyclops dude, but then, or I'm sorry, the Sabretooth dude, but then he kind of dies. It's like this movie feels like a DVD extra feature. It doesn't feel like there's a coherent anchor that's a story in this movie. It feels like just a bunch of introductory shit. Okay, so it feels kind of like an extra. It feels maybe like a TV episode more than a movie. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I was kind of surprised and amused by how different it is than the superhero movies that exist today. I guess maybe the best parallel would be the first Fast and Furious movie, which we also deep dove a few years ago, and just how different that felt than how blown up the rest of the movies really felt. It had its moments. It's not a movie for me, but I will occasionally insert pithy comments or sound effects throughout your guys' fan-filled conversation.
Well, Adam, you're our comic book expert here. So
I thought that was Zach.
Well,
I said,
other than Zach,
unless
other
it's
than
a
Zach.
Crumb comic book.
All right.
Comic book.
What's your experience with X-Men, Adam?
All right, I couldn't watch it as growing up as a kid. It was in the same realm as like the Harry Potter realm, where it's like, no, we couldn't watch it in theaters. But I remember going to the Kmart down in Spanaway and seeing the big like standee of all the DVDs at the time, and eventually somehow I guess we talked our mom into watching it. We rented it from Hollywood Video, and I think that we bought it shortly afterward as well. This was just a fun movie growing up. I'm a really big fan of X2. I think that's one of the best comic book sequels out there. I think there's a couple franchises that have really good sequels, and I think X2 and X-Men Days of Future Past being some of the best X-Men movies out there for me. I was a huge Storm fan after this movie. Like, Storm was my favorite character, and then probably because it was Halle Berry as well, but who knows. I enjoyed this rewatch. I haven't watched it for many years, and it definitely feels different. It definitely feels very early 2000s. 20th Century Fox bought X-Men in 1994, so they were sitting on the project for a while before they even came out with a movie. Marvel's history at the time was they were bankrupt. They had to sell off all their properties. That's why like Hulk went to Warner Brothers, and Spider-Man Spider-Man went to Sony, and then 20th Century Fox got like the Fantastic Fours and X-Men. Blade. I'm glad somebody mentioned Blade. Blade was the one that actually really saved Marvel. So we wouldn't have the MCU if it wasn't really because of Marvel or because of Blade, because that's what really kind of like brought it back. But the big commercial success film was the one that you could take your kids to, which was the X-Men movie, and then followed up by Spider-Man. I feel like it's those two movies that really brought the superhero genre into the forefront after the failures of Batman and Robin, and we hadn't really seen a Superman movie in a long time until Bryan, or the man who should not be named, I don't know, Bryan Singer, much later in Superman Returns. I did it with this movie as well, but X-Men was definitely a groundbreaking film that got people back in the theaters and thought that superheroes were kind of cool, and casting a guy that was like over 6 feet tall to be a guy who was supposed to be really short in Wolverine, ballsy take. You guys are going to deep dive Mission Impossible 2, the guy who turned down Wolverine because he was going to be in Mission Impossible 2. I guess he's thinking about his career differently. But yeah, Hugh Jackman, fantastic job here, and this is a good movie. A lot of good chemistry and a lot of iconic characters for sure.
Yeah, I didn't see this in the theater, but I remember I've seen it a lot somehow. But I like X-Men 2 more, but I know I've seen X-Men more because when I started watching this, I was like, oh, I know this beat for beat. I don't remember watching this a million times, but I know that I did. It's a really good origin story kind of thing, and it set the stage for what we came after this. But Batman Begins kind of puts them all to shame with like the origin story stuff. But like X-Men kind of started the really dark story in the back, and then telling the characters from the beginning, and then I mean it becomes a big set piece at the end. Batman Begins never does that; it stays in the dark territory. But I really like X-Men. Bryan Singer's career is kind of fascinating to me. He made 4 X-Men movies, but he didn't do that much else. He's got 2 movies that won acting Oscars. He's got in between The Usual Suspects and X-Men, he had a Stephen King adaptation. He made Valkyrie, Jack the Giant Slayer, and as Adam said, Superman Returns. Those are all of his movies. That is a weird filmography for somebody as supposedly successful as he is. I mean, these X-Men movies were huge, and he made the best
X-Men
2 of them, which are Days of Future Past and X2.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and he also made Apocalypse.
he did come back for that, didn't he?
Ouch.
I think X-Men is really interesting. I like the characters that they chose to focus on aren't always my favorite, but they make these characters interesting because the actors are really good in this. Except for Halle Berry, she's kind of bad, but everybody else is really good.
She becomes a lot better.
Yeah.
Does she though?
She's a lot better in X-Men 2 and Days of Future Past. Those movies.
Well, when the bar is set that low,
there's only up to go. Yeah,
there's
exactly
only up to go.
And this is written by the voice of Solid Snake, David Hayter.
What
the American voice? And he has some of those in his screenplay too, where he like Logan will just respond with a Solid Snake, like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" kind of. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
he definitely has some of that in this script.
Was Singer offered to direct Logan? Todd, do you know that? Like, it's fascinating that he didn't, or Adam, it's fascinating that he didn't direct that. And to me, that is by far the best iteration of any story from the X-Men universe.
Yeah, if you're doing the one-off characters, Logan is probably definitely up there, and that's a movie that I didn't really like too much.
What year did Logan come out? 2017?
2017.
Oh, 17?
17, yeah, Mangold.
So he probably was preparing Bohemian Rhapsody because Apocalypse came out in 2016. I don't think he would have done back-to-back years of X-Men.
But
so
you
I think
had
that was probably an offshoot project that James Mangold took on.
No, James Mangold did the Wolverine before that in 2013. James Mangold did that.
He did
took
the
over from Gavin Hood.
Gavin
Hood
he did Logan Goes to Japan.
Yeah, Logan Goes to Japan. It's underrated, but I forget about that movie a lot. What happened?
I did underrate it because it's not good.
I wanted more Logan in this movie. I wanted the scene where Professor X and Rogue and Wolverine were on a road trip. You know, like this movie is too serious. There's not the laughs in it are unintentional. Okay, this movie needed to have more of a sense of humor. Where the hell is Deadpool in this movie? I mean, he was with Wolverine just earlier this year. Like, why couldn't we get a more comic, irreverent edge to this movie that is just, I think, way too serious?
You can't make the movie
Batman and
2.5
Robin
hours long. Like they already have a bunch of characters. You can't. I mean, they have these other guys like Pyro and Iceman. Like these are in one scene basically. And Kitty, like they have like one little bit. But if you expand on everybody and bring other characters, if Gambit's in there too, then
I'm
what
not
do you
saying
get?
it's just
What do you
extra.
get? This
Just
is
make
going to
it
be
funny.
2.5
Just make
hours
it
long.
Make it a hangout movie, okay? Make it rich. Let's get some Linklater vibes going. Let's get them smoking up a doobie with Iceman
It
and
is
Rogue,
kind of
and then
it is kind of a hangout movie. Once Logan's like, what is this place? And then it becomes like, oh, now it's like we're watching a school movie.
that is the one scene that I was like, yes, lean into your inner Linklater, okay? But this movie was just too overly focused on bullshit special effects and character origin building, world building, whatever. I wanted the hangout version of this movie. I wanted to go like behind the rafters of the school, you know, who's smoking pot, what janitor is going to bust them, does Professor X, you know, does he have the vision to see them smoking pot? Like that to me would have been the fun version of this story. But he
doesn't have the vision because he's smoking pot too.
Yes.
We needed the mutant where it kind of like how Rogue is like dangerous to touch. There needs to be a mutant that's like psychedelic to touch, and like,
Ooh.
come on, we got psychedelic man under the rafters in the.
Now it's becoming The Boys. Okay, guys, it's becoming the TV show The Boys. That's a good show.
I mean, Todd liked Shake Shack. Didn't you want a subplot in this movie where like Magneto and Cyclops devise some sort of alcohol that they're able to sell at underage mutants? Like that would have been really funny. You know, maybe they go across state lines to put some money on the horses. Like that shit would have been hilarious in this movie, but this movie doesn't have any sort of sense of humor like that.
Highest war performance.
Okay.
Move on. Zach, what's the highest war?
Well, obviously it's Hugh Jackman. I mean, the guy made a career off of playing Wolverine, and no one else can do it except for, I think, Jeremy Allen White. Yeah, I'm Hugh Jackman for sure. Hugh Jackman is too talented for the role. It's like he's the high war, not Wolverine.
I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine, they do play a little bit of Greatest Showman at one point when they're fighting in the car.
Yeah.
I just want to remind the audience that Deadpool is on Terry's Top 100, by the way.
It is currently on there, yes. Adam, highest war.
Highest war is Ian McKellen as Magneto. His performance is really good in this one. Magneto. There's a reason why him and Wolverine were rumored to have solo outings, solo films. Obviously, they didn't go with they canceled the Magneto standalone film with the aged Ian McKellen as that character. But that would have been interesting to see his timeline, obviously from the Holocaust all the way up to where he was at in the beginning of this movie. McKellen is just fantastic when you think of McKellen. I think Lord of the Rings is an easy one to gravitate to, but you kind of forget about the X-Men. But if you look at a lot of lists, one of the best superhero performances out there. So I want to go with Ian McKellen.
Todd.
I mean, I'm gonna say Bruce Davison. I mean,
I know my second
he's
pick.
Got 300 credits, and you guys couldn't name one of them because his character of Senator Kelly is. I mean, he plays it that well, and he's a guy that looks like a slimy senator. So
I could think of 10 million actors who could play that role. Like, how about Ed Begley Jr.? You know, or
but you know who Ed Begley Jr. is. You're never going to say, "Oh, that's the guy from X-Men," but you have to with Bruce Davison.
But the role, it's interchangeable. Anybody could play that. I mean, I get that his filmography. How about Eric Roberts, a guy who's been in 2,000 movies? He could have been Senator Kelly easily. I mean, he's the hardest. He's the. Yeah,
but everyone could have played Wolverine too, just because he played it a million
times.
No,
no one else could have played Wolverine. No one else could have played. I mean, Russell Crowe, maybe, but no.
So it's
no one
Paul
else.
Mescal.
My highest war is Patrick Stewart. Like when that like was revealed that it's him, it's like, well, it's the Sean Connery Stanley Goodspeed moment. Oh, of course you are. The who else was gonna be Professor Xavier? You've got Patrick Stewart sitting right there, literally sitting right there, and it's the perfect casting, and no one was ever gonna be better than that. Like McAvoy does fine. He does fine, but it's not Patrick Stewart. There's a reason that when Doctor Strange pops back up and they want to do the multiverse stuff, they bring back Patrick Stewart, because Patrick Stewart is Charles Xavier. Like, no one else is going to be able to do that like he did it. He's the highest war.
Ben Kingsley could have pulled that shit off.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bill Paxton Memorial, worst performance goes to who, Adam?
All right, I'm going to make an argument for a three-peat. Actually, no, I'm going to go with Alex Burton, who plays John, aka Pyro, and Sumala K, who plays Kitty Pryde. That's the girl who runs through the wall.
You're just going with all the ones that get replaced, aren't you?
Correct. Yes. But no, I guess the bigger argument is that the girl there was 3 actors in the first 3 X-Men movies. There was 3 different people playing Kitty Pryde, the girl who can run through the walls, because it got expanded to.
So they had to give it to an actual actor of note.
Of note for X-Men 3: The Last Stand. But yeah, that obviously it's like, oh yeah, we the people that we originally casted, they can't act, so we need to get rid of them and get people who can actually do what we need them to do in the next one. So yeah, but it is very weird. And you see Shawn Ashmore, who's stick around. The girl who plays Jubilee does stick around a little bit as well. She gets recasted in Apocalypse. No, one of those after ones. But Jubilee stays around for 3, even though her character is really small. But
my worst performance, I said it before. I mean, it's Halle Berry. She's very bad at speaking her words. She's so wooden and monotone in everything she does in this movie. She looks bored, and but yeah, hopefully she was just preparing for Monsters Ball or something on the side. So
yeah, it's definitely Halle Berry, and like there's moments where she tries to have an accent, I think.
Yeah, because she lives.
But I don't know if it actually is trying to be an accent. And it doesn't help that she has the worst line possibly in any superhero movie.
What happens to a toad?
Do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to anything else.
Why'd you say it like Zoolander?
Because that's how she says it.
That would have been a funny trivia question. What happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
Or the line that was forever the first line off the you know how they used to have like the commercial for DVDs, like buy DVDs even though you're watching a DVD, so you bought a DVD. And so it's like, well, why are you promoting DVDs on a DVD when you know you're watching a DVD? And the first thing you see is hold on to something. And that's it. Yeah. You just hear that, and then it goes into the yeah. All right, Zach, worst performance.
All right, that was beautiful.
Inception. Yeah,
I went with James Marsden as Cyclops because, again, the guy, he never even really got his own movie because no one gives a fuck about Cyclops. Lame character, not interesting. It's the perfect counterpoint to Logan, who's cool and alt and subversive, and Cyclops is Eric Sosgaard, and that's all you need to know about him. Not a great character. I don't know what he was doing in the movie.
It's criminal that would have been like Terry casting a Will Poulter as Cyclops, because you put the most interesting guy behind a pair of shades like that they did for Ty Sheridan and the recasting of the other X-Men movies.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
You have some really cool eyes, but you can't emote them, or you can't say anything. You can't communicate with your eyes in this movie.
It is time for the minor character triumvirate of Amazing Larry, Ticket Taker, Matt Damon, and it goes to Todd first.
My Amazing Larry is the bartender, who is played by Doug Lennox, who, if you see that character, you know immediately that is the main bad guy in Police Academy. and he
That's
just has
who
the
it
best line.
is.
Get on my ball, freak. When he
My ball,
like when
freak.
that scene, I hadn't seen it in a long time. I hadn't seen this movie in probably 15 years. And when I hear the shotgun, I was like, oh, this is that line. Get on my ball, freak. It's a great line. I wanted more of that character. It's scenes like that make it clear that Spider-Man stole so much from this movie. I mean, the fight, all those like weird characters like that. It feels like Spider-Man. Matt Damon, what movie are you in? I kind of want to say Hugh Jackman. He is. I mean, he's kind of by nature different than all the other ones. And my minor character who causes the movie to happen. I just said the guard who knocks out Eric in the opening scene in Poland, because that probably sparks kind of everything in Magneto. So sure,
that's a good call. My Amazing Larry is the MC. Don't hit him in the balls. It's like, I thought you said anything goes. They might take it personal. I thought that was really cool. And he's a fun character. My Charlie Duke ticket taker movie maker. I mean, I said Senator Kelly, who's not really a minor character, but if you want to go kind of along the same lines as Todd, I mean, I'd fight Hitler. We could throw him in there as causing the movie to happen. And then the Matt Damon, what movie are you in? I'm going with Toad. Toad doesn't really fit. He's just kind of there. But the best part of Toad though is when he gets to strike his Darth Maul pose. Like it's worth having him in the movie for that. But otherwise, like you're going along and I'm like, wait, that guy just ate a bird. What?
Yuck.
What's going on? So yeah, Zach.
All right, Amazing Larry winner for me goes to David Black as the president. I don't remember the president being in this movie, but it's fascinating that he gets billed at like number 50 by an actor who has been in only like 2 other movies. And actually, when I look on David Black's filmography, he was in a TV movie where he played President Thomas before. So this is his second time playing the president. Probably the least glamorous president that's ever been in a movie. The ticket taker is the actual ticket taker on the train station, obviously. And the Matt Damon, I agreed with Terry. I wrote down Toad too because he feels like a character out of a Daniels movie.
Oh my God.
That's fair. All right, Adam.
My favorite minor character, I'm gonna have to go with Toad, man. You guys are like way too hard on Toad, but I get it. Toad was.
I mean, I don't mind him. He just doesn't fit with the rest of what's going on.
Yeah, definitely comedic, more comedic thing. Weren't you supposed to bring a person back with you? Yeah, that's great. My ticket taker, a movie maker, it's gonna be that truck driver that drops off Rogue, or it's gonna be Rogue's dad. Somebody call an ambulance. That's gonna be the one. Oh, Matt Damon, what movie are you in?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Rogue's mom. I don't know. No, Rogue. But no, Toad's probably the right answer, actually, now that you guys convinced me. Listen to your argument.
I looked up to see if Rogue's mom was also Dirk Diggler's mom in Boogie Nights. But because I feel like it's the exact same character. And probably I feel like it was a different actor, but I feel like that was a
Terry would have named it worst performance, like he has that actor multiple times.
Yes.
That was a type in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm. All right. The tripod of depravity. I'm first on this one. So Stickman, douchebag, most punchable face. My Swigert Stickman is obviously Bobby, who is able to produce ice roses on Rogue's desk and make Pyro look like an idiot. Speaking of Pyro, he's my douchebag. Not really necessarily for this movie, but because he's Pyro and he's continuously been a douchebag, even up through Deadpool and Wolverine. So I mean, it's like we need a douchebag from the past. Who do we bring back? Pyro. That's who we bring back. Worthless henchman. There we go. All right, and most punchable face is the bullet cop. Like the look on his face while the bullet is up against his forehead. Like you're like, dude, it'd be so easy to just like give him a knuckle or two, right in the face, and the like
Give a little tip tap.
tap taparoo. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. So, yep, that's what I got.
Good call.
Zach. No, wait, hold on. No, Zach's not next. Yeah, Zach's next. You're next.
Okay, my stickman is obviously Rogue's boyfriend. It's kind of funny if you look at that scene as just, maybe he, like Jack accused Miles of, maybe he had performance anxiety, trouble performing. Instead of punchable face, can I say to Matt Damon, what scene is this in? Which is the Holocaust. I was not expecting the Holocaust to make an appearance in this movie. That was like plus 450 on my note cards. Actually, I wrote down some odds for this movie. I did Todd's job for him. I said over under on shape-shifting scenes, 4.5. Number of Anna Paquin screams, 17.5. Number of slow-mos of Wolverine stabbing someone, 13.5. Scenes where someone is strapped to a hospital gurney, 7.5. And number of podcast episodes with white guys deep diving this movie, I said 20,000.
No, actually, punchable face is that guy that he's like, I'll fight him, and he literally gets his punch. You don't take a beating like that without having something to show for it. And he gets almost gets cut in the jugular, in the throat. That is. My stick man, gotta go with James Marsden because his girl is Jean Grey. It's kind of a fox. There we go. So it's somebody different. My douchebag is also Cyclops. So yeah. I think that I don't know. Their relationship's kind of back and forth. But I actually also think Henry Gyrich, the Senator Kelly's assistant guy who they found dead like several weeks later, who I think he was definitely a douchebag. I think
He's been dead for some time.
Yeah. So I mean, like he's Mystique's just hanging out as this guy, and Senator Kelly's like, this guy's a douche. It's just his normal day-to-day thing. So I just ignore him half the time anyway. And he's probably a douchebag. So Henry Gyrich, Matthew Sharp.
I like it.
I had him written down for punchable face. He's the classic, just like annoying side character that you just want to smack. My douchebag. Logan's of course a douchebag, but Cyclops. You're a dick.
You're a dick. Yeah,
and it's true.
Okay.
And Swigert
checks out,
man. I'm just gonna say Logan because he even has the charm, even though he's complete asshole all the time. He has the charm. He's like, oh, I couldn't wait to get my shirt off again. And he knows that he could have Jean Grey. So
he's like, my heart belongs to somebody else.
So exactly. I was just scrolling through the IMDb page and I found out that my pick for potential director of the 1975 version of this, Richard Donner, was an executive producer on the 2000 version of X-Men. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, DC screwed him.
Yeah. All right. Zach, what's the best scene?
The best scene is when Logan / Wolverine picks up Rogue. That's when I was still awake watching the movie. And I like the scene when they were in the truck. And, to me, that was a perfect metaphor for the movie. Like, that's a good movie. And then it crashes. And then the movie starts crashing. Like, let's get a, maybe somewhat inappropriate Rogue Wolverine love story. That would have been very intriguing, very envelope pushing. But no, that's a good scene. And I like the bar. Really, the whole first 20 minutes before, it gets stupid and, 2000 era CGI and all that crap. But it's a decent opening to the movie.
So Rogue should have gone rogue with the story at the beginning.
Sure. Yes. And probably gotten an STD. That would have been fun. And maybe Wolverine helps her with that.
Adam, what's the best
I got
scene?
nothing. That is a great poll.
I think one of my best scenes that happened in this podcast where Zach previously said Holocaust scenes, they happen in every one of these X-Men movies. And then he says, I never didn't have the X-Men, the Holocaust scene in this movie. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Was that? Have there been others? I know there was the Cold War
No, but
X-Men one.
You said it.
That's what you had. That's what you said because you said I've seen the sequels and they have Holocaust scenes all the time in them. I did not know that this was going to have a Holocaust scene in it.
I'll have to rewind that. I don't know what I was talking about.
Anyway, my best scene. I like when he's like, "What is this place?" And they're going through the school, and you get to see kind of all the interactions with the different students and stuff like that. That's kind of like, wow, look at all these different these characters with their different powers and stuff like that too. I've always liked the school stuff whenever they're in the school, and then also that underground little base, that little X Manor was pretty cool. So I kind of like that. It expands the scope.
Like Cyclops skeet shooting.
Yeah,
throwing plates at him.
All right, Todd.
Intriguing. Is
kid walking.
My favorite scene is when Logan wakes up and spears Rogue. That's just a
cool
it's a tense scene, and all the kids come and see, and then it kind of, that's where everything kind of spirals after that. But that moment where he's just like, oh shit, I actually can't fix this one. like I went too far.
Yeah, that was like the Darren.
And that's just Rogue again trying to get laid.
That was like the Darren Aronofsky moment of the movie. It got really intense for a couple moments there. What was with the whole "you can't use your powers on other mutants" thing? Adam, can you explain that? Like, isn't that entirely what they do?
That was Mystique.
That was Mystique.
She was trying to
tricking her to leave.
She was tricking on her vulnerability.
Oh,
because you didn't see that her eyes turn yellow, just like Senator Kelly, who we saw was dead, also reappeared because it was Mystique at the very end of the movie.
See, this is the kind of stuff that I need an explanation for. This one should have been like a VH1, pop culture trivia. They should have just said this part of the movie actually means this for people who don't watch comic book movies or care.
It's too dumb of a movie for Zach to appreciate, but too smart of a movie for him to be able to follow.
Line of the day.
Silly. I love stupid.
That is the line of the day. All right. My best scene. I love the final scene of Magneto and Charles playing chess and having that conversation there, and you realize these two actually are friends, but they just are on opposite ends of what needs to be done, and because of that, one is thriving and one's in prison. And I always thought that final scene was just cool, and seeing how they are constantly just gonna spend like every X-Men storyline going mano a mano playing chess with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a Mount Rushmore of chess scenes in a movie?
Yeah, probably would be. It probably would be.
I don't
top
think
10.
So.
It's up there. I like that
Mount Rushmore, but it's a good one.
Yeah. It's a good one. I think the definitely deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore. It's that Pixar short with that old guy playing chess with himself. That one should be on there.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
What was that? What was that called? Like Ed. I forget what it was called. Ed stay off. Ed. I don't know. I forget what it's called. What's that old man's name? Carl's date or whatever.
Yeah, that's the one that.
I know what you're talking about.
The guy that he is playing chess with himself and he beats himself and he switches the board around.
Yeah.
Does every Disney Pixar movie need a spin-off where the main character goes on a date? Is that just a thing?
It must be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we tried adding this category in last time. Let's see if you guys remembered. Is there a scene that we missed that should have been in there for this movie?
Scene that we missed. Okay.
Like the power ranking we had a little while ago. Mm-hmm. The one I have written down is I would have liked a little bit longer, like in the Senate hearing with Jean Grey and Senator Kelly, of like, this is going to be a close vote, but we only get to hear from Senator Kelly. Like, give one other senator to stand up like on the other side of things and speak out on for the other half the Senate that's thinking the other way. Like, just give us a little taste, just a little taste of the other side.
Yeah, that's a good call. My thought is, why is Jean Grey there speaking in front of them? What's her qualifications? Like, and who is she? She's just like there's talking to them. for some reason. That's the
Well,
I'm like, that's Hilary
she's
Swank.
one of Charles's mutants. I think I think that's kind of the idea.
I get it, but did she just reveal herself as a mutant? Did they know that she's a mutant?
They knew.
I already said I wanted more. Everybody wants some Dazed and Confused-esque scenes of the characters getting high. And, the school already looks like it's just one big Halloween party, with Halloween costumes. So why can't they just have a little bit of fun? I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, if they actually showed the scene where Professor Xavier and Eric first meet, like that he references, like that'd be kind of interesting if they would have actually shown that backstory scene instead of just like referencing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. If this was an early '90s X-Men movie, they definitely would have did a superhero suit up scene, like those close up on their asses and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. Never leave home without it.
Flaws, outdated conspiracy theories.
I have a couple things I want to say. I don't understand how Mystique, she's able to like grow Wolverines out of her hands when she pretends to be him. Like,
yeah, that's
even though they're like not adamantium or whatever, they're still like spears that she's coming out of her hands. She's a bit of a cheat code, isn't she? If she can shapeshift,
it opens up into one.
Take their powers too. Like, I don't know. That seems a little. I mean,
it's not
it's
bad.
impressive. I don't know how she does that.
And she got part of the claws broken off. So like, what part of her body got cut off? That's a good point.
Yeah. And I kept thinking at the beginning of this movie, they were treating Logan so much like Han Solo. Like he's like this unlikable prick who eventually is going to grow a heart because he realizes that the people around him are kind of more like him than they're not like him. And I don't know. And then he has that line like, "You call that a landing?" I was like, "That's totally a Han Solo line." Like, I mean, Logan.
The only thing we were missing was a line of "Never tell me the odds."
Exactly. Like the scene when he walks into the physics class, like that is totally a Han Solo scene. Like, I mean, I never had thought that before, but maybe Harrison Ford should have been the 1975.
Get off my plane.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Harrison Ford would have been an interesting one. He could
have.
I thought about him.
What about Mickey Rourke? How about 80s Mickey Rourke as Wolverine? I mean, I'm really just thinking of any Hollywood actor that could wear a wife beater.
LVP, MVP. Let's get there. Yep. Let's do this. LVP, okay. MVP. Zach, you're first.
All right, my MVP of the movie is Ke-Huy Quan for being on the set of this movie, helping Hugh Jackman achieve physical greatness. My LVP of the movie, besides giving it to Terry for picking this movie, is I'm going to say Senator Kelly because I wrote down someone. I said Bobby because he told her to leave.
That was Mystique, though.
Oh, God damn it. See, that's what I mean. It's shape-shifting shit. I hate it. Yeah, really, the LVP is me for being on this podcast.
Ke-Huy Quan is credited as translator, assistant fight choreographer, and stunt rigger.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's like
that's pretty.
Hitter.
That's pretty.
He's on here 3 times.
That's amazing.
He was probably translating that summit speech on Ellis Island too. He's probably in the movie somewhere, translating.
Probably. Once again, pretending to be Jackie Chan.
Yep.
Adam, LVP, MVP.
LVP, Zach on the podcast.
Yeah,
this is Radio Gold.
MVP is busboy Kevin Feige for moving up the ranks and taking charge of Marvel.
Best boy, you mean?
Best boy. I said best boy. That was a slightly different thing.
It's not Keanu Reeves in Speed.
Yeah, he's just.
Although Jan de Bont,
I thought you said best boy too, like he was cleaning tables. Like,
no, I said the best boy.
What's the best boy?
I heard best.
I don't know. It's something that does the lights.
They do the
yeah. Someone on set.
Oh, you thought bus? I heard best boy. In the joke,
I said best boy.
It wouldn't have
apparently
been
the second. I'm looking through the cast list. The second unit best boy on X-Men was Monty Montgomery. So
there we go, Monty. Oh yeah.
Busboy was also a character on season 2 of Seinfeld, and Best Boy was the 1980 winner for Best Short Documentary at the Oscars. You can look that shit up.
This is why when you said he was cleaning tables and then he moved up to be like the president of the company, I was like, that's
like,
quite the rise. I mean, if he was actually working on the set, then that's something.
Yeah, that's what I was going. I was going with Best Boy. I wasn't going. I didn't say Bus Boy. I was trying to say someone that's on set.
Yeah, you threw us off.
There might be someone who was a busboy on set,
working on the
maybe
craft
Patrick
table.
Stewart and Ian McKellen had a lot of meals.
LVP. I don't know. I guess the state of superhero movies now, probably, because they all stole from this movie and eventually beat it into the ground. And the MVP, I mean, well, one, Clemson beat Duke. That was pretty cool. And I will also say, I don't know. I mean, Bryan Singer. I mean, this movie is really well directed. There's some really cool shit that he does in this movie. And I mean, obviously not his best movie, but it's he was a great director when he was doing shit.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like the special effects, they actually kind of hold up a little bit. Some of the scenes actually look pretty decent.
Yeah, they don't like in Love Hurts, everything, especially in the backgrounds, it looked like Wicked level. Like, this does not look anywhere remotely real. But in this, like, everything looks kind of legit. I mean, and I know the budget isn't like monstrous on this, was it?
Probably not.
I don't know.
For being an X-Men, no, I don't think it was a property that they haven't really done anything with.
Yeah, it looks still kind of primitive and really good.
Nice. All right,
75 million.
My LVP is Sabretooth, because they kind of ruin Sabretooth and spoil him in this movie. That's like the one thing X-Men Origins Wolverine did well, is Liev Schreiber's version of Sabretooth was pretty awesome. So yeah, LVP is what they did with Sabretooth. MVP is Hugh Jackman. I mean, he's been in the the national consciousness and pop culture for the last 25 years because of this movie and because of this role. And it might go down as like the actor most synonymous with one role in like their entire career in like film history. Like, how many times has he played Wolverine now? It's got to be close to like a dozen.
Yeah, he's gonna play it at least one more time in Secret Wars, probably.
I don't know if it's a dozen. I mean, it's definitely a lot, but
because you got three X-Men's, you got 3 Wolverines, you've got the 3. I think it was in the first 3 of the prequel sequels.
Yeah, he was he was in First Class.
For 1 second.
And
go
Days of Future Past.
Okay.
And was he in Apocalypse?
No, he wasn't in Apocalypse.
Okay. And then he was in Deadpool and Wolverine.
So 9 times. He's going to be at least 10 times with.
So I mean, it's similar to Connery with Bond, I guess. I mean, he made a boatload of those, and he came back
like
to
6.
it later.
Roger Moore made more. Let's wrap this up now. Let's finish this off with a quote of the day.
Okay, I don't know if the quote's been said yet. I've been cutting out and also paying attention to Clemson, but it's a line that people probably should ask me when I say I'm on this podcast, and it's Logan's line. He says, "Is that your gift? Putting up with that guy?" Yeah, that's what I do. I put up with these guys.
Wow.
Nice. I like that one. My quote, I'm going with, first off, my favorite quote that rolls through my head often, when I decided to pick this in my head, I instantly went, you're a dick. Okay. Like, so there's that one. It's me. Prove it. You're a dick. Okay. But then the other one, which I think sums up every time that we ask Zach to watch superhero movies. It's one of the last lines of the movie. It's said couple times by 2 different characters. Why do you ask questions for which you already know the answer? Yeah. And that's what I feel about having Zach watch comic book movies. So
yeah, that's the quote of the movie, I think, too. That's
it wasn't completely terrible. It was a fun experience. I like that we went an hour longer than this movie. I mean, that's impressive.
Well, we didn't get to the deep dive until an hour in, so